It was at this moment I knew I would enjoy watching Evangelion. And I haven't even finished watching the show at the time of writing this. But why is that? Was it because of the animation? Was it the voice acting? Was it the car turning on? Well, it was pretty much all of those reasons. This moment made me realise that Evangelion had a personality. This was great. One thing I'm always looking for when watching movies and playing video games is, does it have a distinct personality or not? I don't think it's controversial to say that the best video games and movies are extremely memorable. I mean, they have to be if they're so popular. And guess what? Every popular piece of media has a distinct personality. Look at Edgar Wright's films, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Baby Driver, the Cornetto trilogy. Every one of those films feels like an Edgar Wright film, and that's because of his distinct film personality being placed into those films. But if you want an easy way to create a strong personality, look no further than animation. Anything that's animated automatically has a personality because of the sheer amount of unique art styles. Remember Into the Spider-Verse and its incredibly unique animation? That made the movie so much more memorable and interesting to watch. And that's because it gave the movie a personality other than generic kids film. This is just one way to create a strong personality. So let's look at some of my favourite examples of media that display elements of what I think makes a great personality, and just why having a personality is so important. Let's begin with my favourite animation studio of all time, Studio Trigger. I think I love you. These guys made pretty much all of my favourite shows: Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, BNA, and soon to be Cyberpunk 2077. And some of the team members who helped form Trigger also worked on other amazing shows like Evangelion. These guys are geniuses. Now if you look at any of their shows, the first thing you will notice is their distinct animation style. Even their shows of slightly different art styles like Space Patrol Lulaco still have that same style of animation I've come to love. Trigger's animation generally involves a lot of squash and stretch, and there's always tons of movement going on in every scene. And even then they take the animation further with showing the characters' exaggerated personalities through their movement. I believe I touched on this a little in my Pokemon Sun and Moon video. Look at the broom practice scene from Little Witch Academia: The Enchanted Parade. Everyone's movement is unique to them, and it adds that splash of personality that just makes the movie so much more entertaining for me. Notice how Akko's movement is full of energy, while Susie's is slower and manages to bend reality? They are also masters of using limited animation to their benefit. This is most common, I think, in Kill la Kill, where I believe it's at its best. Sometimes Trigger will simply move an image of the character around the screen. Now a lesser man would think this style is lazy, but I guarantee you it was done for the purpose of comedy, and even then, they still managed to make the show look epic. Most shows would animate a scene normally with nothing really unique about it. Trigger, on the other hand, is the only studio that will animate their characters like this. And that creates a strong sense of character and memorability. Notice how much I've talked about how unique Trigger's animation is? That's because it has personality, and that makes it unique. When I watch an anime like Toradora, Gekken Shoujo Nozaki-kun, or certain magical index in the movie The Miracle of Enderminion featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series,
what the hell is this?
I'm always thinking about how the actual art styles can be kinda similar to each other. I never think about that when watching a Studio Trigger show. You can easily tell apart a screenshot from Kill la Kill, Space Patrol Lulaco, or Shantae and the Seven Sirens, but you can always tell that they're all from Studio Trigger. When I see an anime by them, I know it's going to be a blast to watch, because all of their shows have their strong personality that they're so famous for. Another key towards Trigger's personality is their incredible use of stylish music. What other anime has music like Don't Lose Your Way or... Don't lose your way! I got him! I got him! Actually, now that I'm on the topic of music and anime, let's talk about Tentacles.
What?!
I'm sorry, that tentacle joke was terrible. No one is as unfunny as I am.
Not scientifically possible!
You know what is funny? The subscribe button. If you're enjoying this video, maybe subscribe. It's of course extremely appreciated. Okay, back to the video. Quick fun fact about myself. The main way I'm usually introduced to a new franchise is by listening to a game's soundtrack. So if I find a soundtrack that's actually really good, chances are I'm gonna look into the franchise as a whole. It's how I was introduced to franchises like Shantae, River City Girls, Mighty Switch Force. Wait, these all just Way Forward games. And it's one of the reasons why Sonic the Hedgehog is my favourite game franchise ever. What other franchise has music like Almost Dead from Shadow the Hedgehog?
Save us, hell is a joke, no place left to go. You can cut yourself just by looking
Okay, bad example. So when I discovered the Splatoon 2 soundtrack, it felt like I had ascended into a new realm. This would be the soundtrack Bill and Ted would play to save the world. Splatoon's soundtrack is unlike anything I've ever heard, and I love it. I think it's the squid singing that makes the soundtrack so unique. It also makes the game super memorable, and I don't actually own it. After all, the only Nintendo consoles I actually own are a mini SNES and a mug. This gave the game a clear personality that was super memorable and unique. It also separated this franchise from Nintendo's others, and then they released the Octo Expansion DLC, and the soundtrack got even better. It was squids going to war. We weren't squid kids anymore, we were squid men. This gave the game a tone and feeling unlike any other Nintendo game. This soundtrack had swearing in it, no wonder everyone was so excited for it when it came out.
How are you doing that with your mouth?
Music is best used in video games and movies to create the feeling that a scene is meant to radiate. Music when used in this way can be extremely effective in creating a strong personality. You can have the interesting visuals, comedic characters, and all, but if the music is bland and uninteresting, then that's going to reflect onto the movie itself. Look at the MCU films. You ever heard someone say that the MCU films are all the same, or they tend to blend into each other? Which ones of those movies tend to be the exception? Probably ones like Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor Ragnarok, right? But what do those have in common? It's because they all have unique music. Thor has its 80s influence and Led Zeppelin, and Guardians just has its whole soundtrack in general. Remember the soundtrack and score from Thor: The Dark World? I don't even remember that movie existing. Music creates a strong personality, and that's why the Splatoon series with its unique off-the-hook soundtrack makes that game, especially its DLC, so memorable, giving the game its strong personality. So to sum up Splatoon's soundtrack, it's absolutely lit. You know what else is lit? Firefighters. And you know what movie is Firefighters?
My mom!
There you are, out on the water. I can see your...
Ride Your Wave. Weren't expecting that now, were ya? Not enough people talk about this movie. It has beautiful animation, a brilliant story, thought-provoking characters, and so much more. It even taught myself how to make coffee. For this segment of the video, however, I mainly want to talk about this little duet the main characters Hinako and Minato have. This is related to my point, just hold on. In the movie, there's this little 3-minute montage that Hinako and Minato have, singing to each other while building their relationship. Now the song they sing, Brand New Story, is of course amazing, and the Japanese voice actors of the movie do a great job of covering it for the movie. Only thing is, I watched the English dub, and even though I think the English dub team did a great job, the singing from the voice actors is, how do I put this? Not the best.
Brand new story. With every little step you'll go forward.
Yeah, go girl and get an extreme makeover and some singing lessons.
Oh no, he didn't!
And that's why I prefer it over the original Japanese version. Let me explain. This kind of scene has been done before several times in movies. Aladdin is a great example. A Whole New World is beautifully sung. It builds the main characters' relationships with each other, and it's currently available on Amazon for the affordable price of $51.84. When movies have musical numbers, the singing is usually pretty good, and it's usually really nice to listen to, but I always feel like they're singing for an official album release. which they are, instead of naturally singing to each other. That's where Radio Wave comes into play. The version of Brand New Story that Hinako and Minato sing doesn't feel like they're singing for an album. It feels like two people in love singing to each other and laughing together. It feels so much more genuine and emotional, which I find to be so much more effective, memorable, and unique than regular musical numbers do, and I love that. Radio Wave did something that no other movies have really done before to this extent, and that is something unique only to this movie. Because the music is unique, and the characters are memorable from this moment, that contributes towards Radio Wave's personality, because it is something only Radio Wave has. Just one unique scene is all you really need sometimes, and that contributes towards the film's personality. So let's see, to build a personality, you need interesting visuals, memorable music, and something unique to stand out. There's also one more thing, and to explain it, I'll need the help of a purple barbecue and an orange restraining order ready to happen.
I call it
Spyro. Crash!
One of my favourite aspects of the recent Crash and Spyro games isn't just the art style and animations, but it's also the worlds in both games. The main reason why I believe these games are so popular now is because of how much creativity is put into everything. The developers behind the Spyro Reignited trilogy and Crash 4, being Toys for Bob, have the greatest strength of being one of the most creative studios I know. These guys made Madagascar for the PS2, one of the greatest games of our generation.
Hands up!
Drop it.
Their best work, however, can easily be seen in the Skylanders series. There's so much creativity in the character designs, worlds, art direction, and especially in the cutscenes. But people don't care about Skylanders anymore, so I'll talk about Crash and Spyro instead, which are pretty much just as good as the Skylanders games anyway. I'm not biased, I swear. I'll be able to use this thumbnail eventually. Next time, baby. Anyway, the worlds of Crash and Spyro. There's so much creativity in the worlds and characters of these games. In Crash 4, the characters are characterized so well. Everyone has such cartoony personalities. Cortex is probably the best he's ever been. He's so over the top in this game, and it doesn't help that a problem in development was that Cortex was too handsome. This guy was handsome.
There's something weird going on in the bay!
Even Dingo Dial is thick now. Damn, these developers know who their target audience is. Then when it comes to the worlds themselves, 1 minute you're running around Insanity Island, in a jungle full of native monster people, and then you're running away from a giant blue spirit monster in a crumbling down cave, then there's rat pirates and Ratchet and Clank style rail grinding, and later you're in a Chinese garden pond lake thingy with glowing green dragons, and then you're in Brazil during Carnival jumping to the offbeats of the music. There are just so many creative ideas in Crash 4. That creativity becomes one of the main things that creates the game's creative personality. Then you have the Spyro games. Just the creativity with the collectibles create personality. In Spyro 1, the crystallized dragons are such a creative idea. Wow, do I hate alliteration. I love how every dragon has a unique design and personality. It's so much more creative than collecting generic orbs with no cool animations or style. Wait a minute. All of this helps to create a unique world for the games to be set in, giving the Crash and Spyro games a great personality. The unique worlds and wacky characters create memorability, and the creative items in-game create just one more thing that's unique to itself. Throughout this video, I've been repeating those 3 words: memorability, unique, and personality. That is just because of how important they are to create something amazing. On that note, like a grandma holding a small penguin, let's wrap this up.
death.
One thing that I think is missing from a lot of AAA games by big developers these days is a strong personality. Look at games like Call of Duty and FIFA, some of the best-selling franchises every year, and yet no one really cares. They all tend to blend into each other, and that's because they don't have a strong personality. Lots of popular indie games tend to be remembered and loved for years. Games like Shovel Knight, Shantae, Celeste, Cuphead, A Hat in Time, Yooka-Laylee, and even other games like The World Ends With You. They are all extremely memorable because of their unique animations, art style, characters, comedy, world, music. Every one of these elements comes together to create a strong personality, making them memorable, unique, and better as a result. Personality is why Sonic 06 is my favourite Sonic game. Not the best Sonic game, of course, but my personal favourite. Even though the game has an objectively bad story, broken mechanics, long loading times, and stupid cutscenes, it also has great and memorable music, iconic quotes and characters, and hilarious gameplay. It may not be intentional, but I find the game as a whole hilarious, and extremely memorable and unique compared to any other Sonic game I've played, and that gives the game such a strong personality that for some reason causes myself to keep returning back to it. Sonic Forces came out in 2017 and people forget it exists because it was bland and lacked personality. 06 is anything but bland. The game is over 15 years old and people still talk about it. When a movie, game, manga, or anything else has a strong personality, you know people will remember it, and it will be more likely to be successful because of it. Having a personality in anything is important, and it's the one thing a lot of creators tend to forget about. If what you want to make has a strong personality, chances are it won't be quickly forgotten, but instead remembered greatly. And it's as simple as an anime character drinking a beer in a funny way.